She's got long legs and short shorts, but she ain't got no teeth. She wears a red bandana on her head and she smiles so sweet. She'll steal your heart at first sight, she'll rip apart your soul. She'll torture your mind and waste your time and drag you down the road. 'Cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew Jezebel. 'Cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew Jezebel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the St. Andrews Jezebel podcast. My name is Ashley Feller. I'm a third-generation Panama City native, musician, and I'm also a singer-songwriter. This week, I'll be sharing music and community events for the upcoming weekend of April 30th through May the 2nd, and I'll also be sharing some information about Blessing of the Fleet, which is coming up in St. Andrews on May 15th, and will take place alongside Salty Cat Day at the market at St. Andrews. If this is your first time listening, then I'm really glad you clicked play, because this week features an interview with Sandi Marlisa, who is a wonderful singer, musician, and writer here in St. Andrews, and she's got a new book called Fire Flurries, which will be out soon, so you don't want to miss that. This week's old news segment is from an article called Moral Echoes, written by D.W. Haskew, and it was featured in the St. Andrews Bay News, April 30th in 1935. Whew! Looks like I've got a lot of things to cover. Thank y'all so much to everyone who's been listening and subscribing. So let's get to it, get your favorite drink ready, and enjoy the show. According to the current forecast, by the way, I use NOAA, there is supposed to be a 31% chance of rain with a high of 79 and a low of 64 this weekend. That sounds like so much better weather than the last 2 weekends. So hopefully this will be a great weekend to catch up with your friends, enjoy some drinks, as well as enjoy some wonderful live music. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? Start your Friday off at the Shrimp Boat with a variety of jazz music by Class Act, which is a duo made up of Suzanne and Paul McDowell, and they begin playing at 5 p.m. Then across the way, you can enjoy margaritas and wonderful Mexican cuisine while you experience the sounds of Otha Allen beginning at 6 p.m. Then, right over at Little Village, West is playing music for you at 6 p.m. Another great choice would to stretch your stuff down to the tap room and relax in their gorgeous courtyard. They'll have music by none other than local favorites, Klein Street, starting at about 6 p.m. John Cannon is making beautiful music for y'all this Friday night at the top deck of Uncle Ernie's, also at 7 p.m., and closing out your evening is Nicole and Derek at the Salty Hobo, beginning at, I believe, 8 or 9 p.m. The market at St. Andrews is every Saturday morning and opens in the lot next to the Shrimp Boat. There are a number of fantastic arts and crafts vendors, food trucks, and live music brought to you by Floriopolis that begins at 10 a.m. This week, the featured musician is Eli Ingram. By the way, the market is always looking for different musicians to perform, so if you're interested in playing at the market, please send me an email to ashley.feller@gmail.com, or you can always private message the podcast. The Floriopolis Music and Art Tent is usually located by the food trucks close to Beck Avenue. Chris Wade is back at the tap room beginning around noon. Then at Little Village, this week's guests, Sandi Marlisa and Tyler, are playing for y'all at 1 p.m. Class Act is back at the Shrimp Boat starting at 5 p.m. And if you still need your margarita fix, then you should head back to Los Angejitos to get your practice in for Cinco de Mayo and enjoy tunes by Hunter and Tony at 6 p.m. Or, of course, you could head back to Little Village to hear the beautiful voice of Chris Wade beginning at 6 p.m. If you haven't been on a date night in a while, now is a good time to plan, because this Saturday night, Jay Smith is playing at Uncle Ernie's starting at 7 p.m. Get your dancing shoes ready, because True Soul is at the House of Bourbon this Saturday night starting at 7 p.m. So if you enjoy classic R&B and soul music, bring your friends and enjoy a great evening. For all my night owls out there, Chris McKay is entertaining you at the Salty Hobo starting at 8 p.m. and he plays till midnight. This Sunday, make sure you catch Gilliran's Island at Little Village starting at 11 a.m. And then at 2, stick around for open mic with Casey Phelps. Kelsey and Parker are singing for you at the Tap Room around noon, and Brady Hughes takes the stage at the Tap Room for the afternoon set. Another relaxing way to wrap up your week would be to enjoy a delicious cocktail at Uncle Ernie's while you experience the music of Jay Smith starting at 7. This concludes the music events for the upcoming weekend of April 2nd through 4th. Special thanks to Ken Schaefer, who is the admin for Salty Sounds in St. Andrews and Oh Boy Music on Facebook. I appreciate you, Ken, for providing a comprehensive guide that helps locals find out where all the music is in Panama City. Thank you so much for everything you do. And now for some community events. Have you ever wanted to plant a tree? We sure did lose a lot of them during Hurricane Michael a couple years ago, so here's your chance. There is a tree giveaway at Oakland Terrace Park, May 1st. Next Wednesday is Cinco de Mayo, one of my most favorite holidays. There's plenty of great places to grab a margarita and celebrate in St. Andrews. Have you tried the Harborita? That's my favorite as of now, but I'm always open to try other margaritas. So leave me a comment on which margaritas you think I should try. On Sunday, May 2nd, there will be a wellness market at the Hub, also known as the Taproom parking lot. Entry is free. There's 3 yoga classes being taught by Rebecca, and they include a free beer, and there will be 20 or more local vendors. I just spoke with Hope Woods, and she said she would be there with her pop-up apothecary. Say that 3 times fast. There will be jewelry, there will be a hydration specialist there, plants and flowers, as well as local health experts. There will be a doula present, and even mushroom growers. Wow, this sounds like the place to be this Sunday, y'all. This event is sponsored by Idle Hounds and North South. Do you eat breakfast? I really should. Sometimes I eat breakfast for dinner. If you're not like me and you like your breakfast in the morning, then you should go visit Barefoot on the Bay because they now serve breakfast daily from 7 to 11. Panama City Comedy and the Library on Beck present a comedy open mic every Wednesday from 8 to 10 p.m. This is hosted by Janet Fortune. You can sign up in person at 7:30 p.m. All experience levels are welcome. Floriopolis presents Art in Public Spaces on Janie's Fence. This exhibit that's currently on display is Songbirds. This lively exhibit will be decorating Beck Avenue until the end of May, and it's sponsored by Bubba T. Bird and features 25 submissions, all contributed by local artists. Please stroll by and take photos. Remember to tag us, Floriopolis, at #Floriopolis, and also #KeepSt. This exhibit features artwork by Annie Mae, Heather Parker, Caitlin Dillon, Noel West, J.A. Robinson, Barbara Dyer, Silas Dyer, Kelly Dyer, and Jim Hayton. I'll try to talk about a couple of pieces each week until the exhibit ends, but my favorite for this week is painted by Caitlin Dillon. It's a blue bird, and Caitlin says, "A bird not ready for the next day. The morning sun is unstoppable, and the bird's emotions just as bold." I also love the painting by Kelly Dyer. It appears to be a blue bird with big green eyes against a yellow background with bold words that exclaim, "Don't forget to sing." That's definitely a reminder most of us need. I am super excited to share that Salty Sunset Markets start Thursday, May 6th, every Thursday evening. This will be less farm, more art. Make sure you tune in next week because Megan is coming back to tell us all about the new night market on episode 28. Last week, we talked about where you can shop for Mother's Day, which is May 9th. This week, let's talk about dining. There's so many places to honor your mother with a great lunch or dinner. There's Alice's on Bayview, Uncle Ernie's, the Shrimp Boat. A couple of years ago, I took my mother to lunch at Thai Basil, and we had the most lovely time there. It's a great spot to treat your mama. They have a lovely variety of Thai food in addition to delicious sushi. I also hear the shrimp boat has entertainment for the kiddos and a free mimosa for every mom. Looking through their menu recently, I also read that the shrimp boat has a heavenly signature drink made with a 360 double chocolate vodka, Godiva chocolate liqueur, Bailey's, cream de cacao, and cream. Doesn't that sound divine at the end of a long hot workday? Here's some of the happenings that were scheduled for April 24th but have been rescheduled due to the prediction of bad weather. Art in the Park and Community Mural at Oakland Terrace is now June the 5th. Salty Cat Day has been moved to May 15th and will now be the same day as Blessing of the Fleet. What a jam-packed day that will be! Both are fundraisers. One is for the Salty Cat Rescue and the other is for Second Chance of Northwest Florida. Bring your giving spirit, cat food, and an old winter sock. Poem in Your Pocket Day is the last Thursday in April. It is one of our favorite days at Floriopolis. You get to carry a short poem in your pocket, give it to a stranger, as you recite it and whisper for them to psst, pass it on. Kind of like some kind of secret agent, a poetry secret agent, a poem pusher, a member of the literacy mob. We're not hosting an organized event this year. Thankfully, Poem in Your Pocket Day is one you could celebrate on your own. Pick a short poem, write it out, and put it in your pocket. Before the day's end, recite it to a stranger and give it to them with instructions to pass it on. I saw this on a post by Historic St. Andrews. Are your neighbors Yard of the Month worthy? We are focused on Where Town. Send your nominations via Facebook Messenger or email to Deborah Kibbett at kibbetartstudio@gmail.com. Where Town is what we all know as the commercial district of St. Andrews and includes the area east of Beck Avenue and south of Highway 98, also known as 15th Street, west of Frankfort to Beach Drive. The name Ware Town came about when Lambert Ware visited the area in 1877 and then returned in 1879. His brother Francis joined him in 1882, and they operated Ware Mercantile and Ware's Wharf on the present Harbor Village and St. Andrews Marina sites. If you find yourself wanting to take a leisurely bike stroll, check out some of the great historical homes in Ware Town. These homes are not open for public tours, but you will enjoy the architecture. First, there's the Thompson House, which was built at 2622 West 9th, circa 1930. The Hutchison House, 2623 West 9th, circa 1930. Hannah House, 2620 West 9th, pre-1860. Captain Attaway Warehouse, 2501 West 9th, circa 1910. Hayton Zedeker House, 2500 West 9th, circa 1904. The Day Home, 1001 Calhoun Avenue, circa 1909. Aunt Maud and Uncle Bruno's, 2204 West 9th, circa 1920s. The first Friday of every month is Senior Friday at the Publishing Museum from 8:30 a.m. to 10:30. Seniors 65 and over can enjoy free coffee, donuts, and a tour of the museum and the exhibits. This might be a great activity to do with your mother, since Mother's Day is quickly approaching. You can make a weekend of it. Take your mama on the tour on Friday, and then bring her back to St. Andrews on Sunday for a delicious lunch or dinner. Have you seen all the butterfly gardens popping up all over St. Andrews? There's one right outside Floriopolis. I love sitting in the courtyard, sipping my coffee, and admiring the flowers and the butterflies. There's currently 7 butterfly gardens, but there's plans for 12. Recently, I saw a post by Historic St. Andrews asking for donations of a bird bath, butterfly art, garden flags, welcome signs, or anything to help with the gardens. This is a way that you too can help beautify St. Andrews. The Historic St. Andrews Waterfront Partnership is also collaborating with the Audubon Society of Bay County to plan a birding trail in the near future. The Historic St. Andrews walking tours are every Wednesday and Friday, and they're led by Ellen, who does a wonderful job of telling the story of early St. Andrews. Whether you've lived here for years or you're just here visiting, this is a must-do activity if you're ever in St. Andrews. In a perfect world, I take the tour every week because it's so informative and the history of St. Andrews resonates so much with me. The 24th annual Blessing of the Fleet, Fish Fry, and Burning of the Socks will be held at the St. Andrews Marina on May 15th, 2021. The Fish Fry will begin serving at 11 a.m. with the sock burning event to follow. The processional of water vessels starts at noon. The proceeds will benefit Second Chance of Northwest Florida, that is a local not-for-profit organization that provides services to brain injury survivors and their families in the community. For more information on how you can help sponsor the event, please visit secondchancenwfl.org. I'll be sure to link their website in the comments below. I see there's several tiers of sponsorships available for those who may be interested. Give you a little bit of history on the event. The Blessing of the Fleet is an ancient tradition brought over from Europe which blesses the upcoming boating, fishing season, and it also remembers and honors the lives lost in the previous season. It is blessing the fleets of ships so that they may have a safe, prosperous season with bountiful rewards for their hard work on the water with no lives lost. At the event, the clergy stand at the edge of the marina, and as boats and ships and jet skiers and kayakers and anyone else on a boat pass by and under them, they throw flowers or petals or sprinkle water and say a blessing for them. Burning the Socks is a tradition of closing the season of cold weather and ushering in spring and summer seasons of warmer weather. For merchants, this equates to dollars spent on sandals, flip-flops, ankle bracelets, toe rings, pedicures, polishes, suntan lotions, foot scrubs, foot washing, short summer dresses, cookouts, barbecues, and everything else. It means picking up the winter clothes, putting away the boots and coats, getting out the water play and sand toys, and getting ready to celebrate the season with a commemorative burning of a pair of stinky, thick winter socks. In parts of the coast, these two traditions, Blessing of the Fleet and Freeing of the Feet, sock burning, are not always paired with each other. In St. Andrews, they are. Stay tuned next week for more information about the upcoming Blessing of the Fleet event. This week's featured Salty Local is none other than Sandi Marlisa. Sandi currently sings with 2 groups in town, and she's released at least 1 book and has another out soon, all while being a mom. Keep listening to find out more about Sandi and her creative life here in St. Andrews. Good morning. You're listening to the St. Andrews Jezebel podcast. We're here today with Sandi Marlisa. Sandi is a creative person in a plethora of ways. She's a musician. She's a singer-songwriter. She's also a copywriter by trade, in addition to being an author, all while being a full-time mom of 2 kids. So Sandi, to start, what's the name of the 2 groups that you play with around town? And can you tell us a little bit about each?
Absolutely. So the first, I actually just had my 1-year anniversary with De Nuvo, which is an 80s synth pop band. I'm really excited about that. So yeah, it's 80s synth pop with John Burgess. He's an incredible synthesizer player. I could never say that correctly. Really great at what he does. And then I have an acoustic duo right now with my friend Tyler. And that is more early 2000s punk music or country, and we have a really good time doing that. So that's really it. We do all kinds of things with that one.
Awesome. And how long have you been into gigging and performing live?
Well, being a musician, I've been that my entire life. But as far as what I'm doing now, just the year beforehand, I did a lot of music with the church. So I did a lot of gigs that were also called worship services.
Right.
So yeah, my whole life, but as far as like this business goes, definitely just the year. So that's been a really big learning experience. I'm really lucky that I live in a town that supports that.
That's great. And this town is lucky to have y'all.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So what's your favorite thing about playing in two pieces or duos as opposed to possibly playing at a solo act or with a full band?
That's a good question. When it comes to music, I really like the collaboration. I don't like doing things on my own. I feel like there's more energy, in my opinion, playing off of somebody. And also it's a little less lonely on the stage when I have Tyler making fun of me, or I can whisper jokes to John. Like, to me, that's really fun. Now, as far as like not being in a 5-piece, I would love to be in a 5-piece band, but there's also usually like a lot more work that comes into that. And there's a lot more personalities that have the potential to clash. And musicians are the most dramatic people on the face of the planet. So it can be a little complicated, I think, the more people you start adding. But it's also more fun in those ways. It also takes a lot more time, a lot more practice, a lot more effort. So I think the duo is perfect for where I'm at right now and what I'm able to give to the music scene. And yeah, have a lot of fun doing it.
Absolutely. I think that being in a duo is where it's at, really, from a business perspective and also for the reasons that you just mentioned. I used to be in what amounted to be like an 8-piece band. Not only was it hard to get everyone paid, but it was like being in a relationship with 7 other people.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I try to treat it as a job. Like, I don't want to be loitering around too much before the gig and too much after. And I enjoy like getting free drinks at a venue or in the free food and everything. But also that's a lifestyle that can quickly become dangerous. If you're playing in a bar 4 to 5 nights a week and they're giving you free alcohol 4 to 5 nights a week, that quickly becomes a problem. People consider me a little bit strange because I don't drink every single time that I'll try to pick like 2 nights a week where I'll, drink a little bit. I feel like the bigger the band, the more it becomes like that family nature. And that can quickly become toxic if you're not careful, because there does need to be a line between business and then your friendship, I think, in my opinion. But with music, those lines become blurred all the time. And it can quickly become unhealthy if you're not careful, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Unfortunately, there's a lot of folks that fall into those patterns because it's really easy to do.
Oh, so easy. Yeah, if you get your base fee for playing at a place, and then usually, like I said, like you get a free alcohol tab, which is great. Like, I'm appreciative of that. But yeah, I've got 2 kids. I have a life outside of my job, and I have to keep that in check. Otherwise, it's not good.
Absolutely. That's why I only drink during the 3rd set.
The third set. There you go. We all have to have our limits.
We all have our boundaries and limits. Mm-hmm. And so if you could play in any venue, anywhere in the world, be it a dive bar or Carnegie Hall or Red Rocks, where would it be?
Honestly, that Cajun place, I really want to play there.
Are you listening to that Cajun place?
I really want to play there. That would be really rad. Carnegie Hall would be really dope. I actually had an opportunity to play there in a choir in high school, and I didn't go because I had to work. But like, I kick myself about that all the time. But yeah, it's funny because I don't really think about the big, huge venues too much. Like, I'm always thinking about, where do I want to play around here? Because I don't know. I enjoy playing locally. I think the crowd is usually more enthusiastic. It's a more personal experience. And I know for me, I do music in order to connect with other humans. And the best way to do that, I think, is to play locally and connect with the people who are around you, because then it becomes more than just playing cover songs. It becomes more of people seeking you out in order to have that experience of connection, which has nothing to do with where I want to play, but that's how my brain works.
Those connections can happen at where you want to play. And that's one of the things I love most about performing is after a while, when you start to see some familiar faces, it's not so awkward. So
yeah,
absolutely. So I've read your book, To All Who Wander, which seems to be a collection of essays centered around your family life before and after Hurricane Michael. Can you tell us a little bit more about that book, and where can folks get their copy?
Sure. You can get it on my website, sandymarlisa.com, Sandi with an I. But it's a collection of essays. It took me 6 years to write it, and I have been raising 2 kids for over 8 years, and I love to write, but it was really difficult for me to sit down and write a full book from like beginning to end chronologically. And so I just wouldn't write because it felt overwhelming. So instead, I realized I post these essays on Facebook all the time, and they get really good feedback and people really enjoy them. So why don't I just do that? And that's what I started doing is I just started posting like these 500 to 1,000 word essays on Facebook. And eventually I compiled them all into a book. So they're stream of consciousness essays, which means when I sit down to write, I don't know what I'm going to write about. It just comes out and I finish it up the way I feel, that feels right to me. And so the book is not in chronological order. It's organized by subject, but not really either. But it makes sense at the end. Like you get what is being conveyed at the end. So it's about raising kids. It was about being a wife. It was about coming back home to music after being kicked out of a church. And yeah, just the ups and downs of climbing out of poverty and surviving the hurricane and basically my life over the last 6 years previous to writing that. Yeah.
I have to tell you, I really enjoyed it. It's one of my go-to books. I like reading books by people that I know. It's really a lot more personal. And I read it in the car. I actually keep a copy of it in the car so that if I'm waiting on someone to meet me or I'm way too early for something I'm supposed to be at, I have something to read. And it's my go-to car book all the time.
Thank you, Ashley.
Oh, absolutely. And so have you got another book coming out soon? I think I read something about that. Can you tell us about that?
That is going to be called Fire Flurries, which is something my daughter said. I was sitting around a campfire with some of my really good friends after getting a divorce from my husband. And we were just talking and I was having a really good time. And it was like just one of those perfect moments where you just knew everything was going to be okay. And the embers started flying out of the bonfire. And my daughter goes, "Oh, Mom, they're fire flurries." And I was like, "That's so cool. I love that." That's going to be the name of my book. So it's going to be about rebuilding life after a divorce, healing from that, some of the traveling that I've done, getting back into music, gig life, reconnecting with my friends from high school, rebuilding the community after Hurricane Michael, being a part of that, and dating in the 21st century.
Oh, God.
So it's gonna be like the same feel as the last one, but completely different. It's like a different stage of life.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I'm excited to read about that. And if there's any way I can support you, I'm happy to do it. I love reading your writing, your Facebook posts, your Instagram posts.
Thank you.
They're great. And some of those posts that I really love to read often involve the two kiddos.
Yeah, they're hilarious.
Lorelai and Judah, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Are they 7 and 10? I'm only trying to guess their
You're
ages.
fine. 8 and 6.
8 and 6.
Almost 8 and 7. She has a birthday in June, but yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
They are something else.
Yes, they are.
What's it like to be a mom and a creative person to those two kids? And are your kids creative too?
Yeah, I chose a different kind of parenting style than most people did. And I realized like I took a risk doing that because I got a lot of criticism and I still do. I get a lot of criticism for the way I raise my kids, but it's paying off and people love them and they're like, "Oh, they are respectful. Oh, you don't spank them?" Like, "Oh, but they still are really kind." That sort of thing. So I raise them with a lot of freedom because I am a creative person, and the strict and structured parenting style, which I think is completely valid, is not conducive to how I live my life. So I had to raise my kids in a way that supports me as a person and the way that I feel is good. So they are creative because they are given that freedom to express themselves and to be themselves. Especially my young daughter, she is constantly crafting. She is a person that does not need regulation. She will come home and if she'll watch some TV, but then she'll turn it off to craft. She'll turn it off to make up a song. She'll turn it off to just wander off in the yard. Now, my son is a little different. I have to help him create structure in his life. Otherwise, he's playing video games all day. But they're creative in different ways. My daughter in the more traditional way of making doll dresses out of socks, whereas my son is very creative in the way that he solves problems. So I think everyone's creative. It's a different avenue. So with my son, I just try to help him realize it's okay to make mistakes, because I think that's something he gets hung up on a lot. He always tries to do things perfectly. So instead, like I just tried to encourage him that failure is part of the creative process. You're going to fail and that's inevitable, but you can also take what you've learned and make that into something completely new and different. And it works out and it's interesting. So anyway, yeah, I love my kids. I love being a mom. It's fun.
It's wonderful to see young folks with their kids and raising them and being part of the community. Megan McDougall, she's another one of my favorite moms. She brings her kids in here occasionally during public hours. Yeah. I just love it. And you know what you said about mistakes, I believe that to be creative is to be vulnerable. Yeah. And when you're aware of your mistakes, then you're sharing that vulnerability with the world. Creative intentions for the next month.
I need to finish up some essays that I've been postponing writing. I've been trying not to post as much of my essays on Facebook and keep them for my book, which has proven to be a challenge because when I write, I just like to share it immediately. So I need to sit down and write out some of these ideas that I've had. I have a couple ideas for songs, but other than that, just the normal grind. It's the season and musicians are playing a lot. I know my people are getting more and more opportunities, and with the pandemic finally starting to see there's going to be some relief, we're not having trouble finding work, a lot of us. I'm excited about that. So
me
just
too. Yeah.
rise and grind, basically.
Where do you like to enjoy yourself in your downtime if you were to come to St. Andrews for a day?
I come here all the time. I love to quad roller skate. So I like to go to Oaks by the Bay. And if you guys haven't seen the chainsaw art there are two new structures. One is a mermaid and one has like a bunch of sea creatures on it. And then of course there's that magnificent octopus one. I love to just roll around down there and enjoy the bay. But also like my favorite places to go, I love to go to Alice's on the Bayview for brunch. They have really good mimosas. And I think my favorite thing on their menu is like this pork eggs Benedict. Oh, so good. Their French toast is really good too. I love to go to the tap room, especially if Liza's Munchies food truck is there.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have their crab cake Benedict. If you can't tell, I love Benedicts. And I'll go there and have a beer at the tap room. And then I also really enjoy Bergen Barrel. I know they're closed for renovations right now, but I will go there after late night gigs usually and just sit in the quiet and listen to jazz music. So those are my favorite places to go.
Oh, yeah. Those are some great spots. Sandi, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Ashley.
Oh, absolutely. It's a pleasure. Where can folks find you online and beyond?
You can find me at sandymarlisa.com. That is Sandi with an I. You can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram. That's where I'm most active. So facebook's.com/sandymarlisa, instagram.com/sandymarlisa.
All right, folks, you've heard it. Make sure you go out and check out Sandi and Tyler and also De Nuvo coming up in St. Andrews. Thank you, Sandi, for being here. Y'all tune in next week for more. Until then, keep St. Andrews salty. This week's old news segment comes from the St. Andrews Bay News, April 30th in 1935. This was written by D.W. Haskew, and it's called Moral Echoes. I chose this selection because it reminds me of current times. There's a lot of talented artists in this community, and many will tell you it's easy to fail at your ambition if you don't put in the time needed to hone your craft and devote the time to creative work. There's a lot of folks who spend more of their time admiring and less of their time creating their own work. I believe if more folks accepted that anyone can express themselves, they'd find more happiness in their daily lives. Moral Echoes, D.W. Haskew, D.D. A young musician was assigned to a lesson and asked to report at the music hall for an hour of practice. She came on time and found an artist at one of the pianos playing music that stirred her very soul. She sat the whole hour through and never touched a key. The music of the artist enraptured her very soul, and for days she came to practice, but she sat and listened day after day. She wasted all her practice hours in listening to the artist who could eclipse her in playing, and it is needless to say that she never became a musician. For that same reason, many a person fails to reach the ambition that stirs the soul. They find someone who can teach, preach, sing, sew, cook, farm, and fish better than they can, and they sit by and look on and listen while the job is being done by skilled hands. That leads me to say that it matters not how well the other fellow can play. If we are ever to become musicians ourselves, we must make use of our own practice hours. Thank you so much for listening to episode 27 of the St. Andrews Jezebel podcast. We've now got a Facebook page and an Instagram account. The pages will share when future episodes will be published and more information regarding the growth of the podcast. I hope you'll visit these pages, and you can continue to show your support by liking, following, and sharing the pages with all your salty friends. Before I head out, I need to mention that I'm looking to share all kinds of public events. So if you're having a yard sale, or if you'd like me to help you promote your special happening, please DM the podcast on Facebook, or you can email me at ashley.feller@gmail.com. The podcast is now available to stream on Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes, CastBox, and Google Podcasts. I'd like to thank everyone who has subscribed and shared the podcast with all their salty friends. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Thank you everyone again for supporting this effort. The intro music was written by me and recorded by Dave Schwartz at Boundless Sounds on the campus of Gulf Coast State College. The show was recorded by me in my music room. Till next time, keep St. Andrews salty.
Red lipstick, so thick, and a push-up bra. Tramp stamp, stretch marks, and a lacy thong, 'cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew Jezebel, 'cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew Jezebel.